Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call. All members are present. Approval of the agenda. Looks like there's no changes to the agenda. Does council have anything? Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Heidi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Approval of the minutes of the March 6, 2019 regular meeting. I'll receive them in your packet. Is there any changes, corrections, clarification? Hearing nothing, do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 6, 2019 regular meeting?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Diane. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. This brings us to our public open forum. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Is there anyone here that would like to speak to the council? Having no one, our public open forum is now closed. We have no public hearings. This will now bring us to our reports and presentations. Police Department monthly report. Brian?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Activity report for the month of February 2019. Some of the numbers we had 13 alarm calls. We had gave out 15 winter parking violations. We had 27 assists for people, 47 assists for businesses, 13 citizen contacts. We did 22 matter of information calls, 15 medical calls, 6 accidents only, 24 school patrols we did, 67 patrolling around Walmart area, 14 suspicious calls we had 4 thefts, we had 11 welfare checks, and we gave out 102 verbal warnings. We had total calls of 419. So total activity for the month was 521. So pretty, compare that to 2018, we're down 106 calls, down on verbal warnings by 121, down by activity 227. And compare that to January, we're down 74 calls, down 23 warnings, down total of 97 calls. So February is a very cold month and a lot of snow, so it really took care of some of the activity. So I'd like to move on to, I see, hopefully you read the letter. I recommend a Medal of Accommodation of Valor for Sergeant Joe Jensen to our department for the incident on September 14th, 2018, if you'll recall that. It's pretty stuck in my memory yet. I'm not going to read the whole thing here. I'll just kind of touch through it and go from there. Shortly after or just before 10 a.m., the Sauk Center Police Department received a call of a stolen vehicle from Osakis heading towards Sauk Center on County Road 51. At that time, our department was now looking for that vehicle. Between the time it made it to Sauk Center, it struck a rear-ended vehicle on County Road 51. Then at 10:04, we had multiple a call of a crash. The pickup crashed into a building in Sauk Center on Getty Street. Citizens attempted to stop the truck. The truck fled away. Then we had numerous calls shortly after that of the vehicle driving through businesses recklessly and through backyards recklessly, doing a numerous amount of damage of property in backyards. At this time, we lost track of the truck. Of course, after receiving several calls, we started looking for the tracks and followed the tracks to 10th Street in Sauk Center. And at that time, we then located, myself along with the troopers, located damage to a garage on 10th Street. After examining that property further, we found that the truck was inside the property in the garage. And suspect was then identified to us by then as Ramey James Olson. So now we're looking for Ramey inside this property on 10th Street. So myself, along with state trooper, Melrose officer, and a Stearns County deputy, we made entry into the house. Of course, we spoke to the homeowner before going into the property, questioning what weapons were in the house. They said there was no firearms in the house, but there was a bow, a compound bow. Made entry into the house. On that date, we cleared the main floor, came to the levels of the basement and upstairs stairwell. I secured the door to go into the basement. The trooper, Melrose officer, and deputy went around the corner for the stairwell to go upstairs. And at that point is when Ramey Olson stepped around the corner from the upstairs stairwell and shot an arrow into the deputy's arm. At that point, I helped the deputy get out of the residence. I then went to help back at the stairwell. And at that point, Mr. Ramey shot another arrow at ourselves in the stairwell, at which time the trooper and Melrose officer fired back with their weapons. So this happened another time where he shot another arrow, and at that point is when Sergeant Jensen arrived on scene, came into the house, and basically came and controlled the situation starting from that point on. He did a fine job in getting the officers that had fired their firearms out of the building or out of the residence because they should not have been there anymore. You know, you're hyped up, and it's a good time not to be in there anymore. So he got them out, and then made contact with verbal contact with Ramey Olson, and did negotiating for basically 2 hours, getting Mr. Olson comfortable enough to talk and communicate, at which point he continually tried to get Mr. Olson to give up the compound bow and to slowly throw down the arrows that were remaining on scene, and trying to comply to other things that Mr. Olson wanted. And the whole time doing that, he was asking for the correct personnel to come in and assist, and for communicating with the outside assistance to other agencies that were now helping us. I was in there with Sergeant Jensen and witnessed Sergeant Jensen doing all these commands and doing a great job at that point. So it came to a point where after 2 hours of negotiation with Mr. Olson, he finally felt comfortable enough to come out into the open of the stairwell, where Sergeant Jensen then was able to deploy his taser, striking Mr. Olson and make an entry up to the upstairs to apprehend Mr. Olson, along with the help of Stearns County deputies. So he was then taken into custody at approximately 12:51 p.m. So you see the incident, we just got the call before 10 a.m., so it lasted quite a while. Clearly, without Sergeant Jensen establishing a good rapport with Olson, this incident could have turned out much worse. I was inside with Sergeant Jensen most of the negotiating with Olson, and observed that he was very professional, calm, and under control during the whole time. Sergeant Jensen had great presence of mind to remove the initial officers involved that had discharged their weapons. Sergeant Jensen was able to calm the scene down and regroup. Sergeant Jensen made great decisions when inside the residence. He was able to keep assisting local law enforcement outside as to what was needed inside, and the personnel also while in continuing negotiations at the same time. As a result, Sergeant Jensen heroic efforts, the best possible outcome to this situation was reached, I believe, with no one else getting hurt. So I just want to commend him. If you come up here so I can give him his Valor pin, which I think is well deserved in this incident. And so, thank you very much for helping us out. You're doing a great job. Thank you. Much appreciated.
Thank you.
I also want to thank, the trooper and Melrose officers and deputy that, came to assist us. They didn't hesitate to go in that house with me and to look for this suspect, knowing what the weapons were inside and not hesitating. So it means a lot to have other agencies close to us that are willing to sacrifice and go, into calls like this with us. So it means a lot to have their back. So, and hopefully we can do that for them someday. So, all right, thank you.
Thank
That's all I
you.
have, unless you have something more.
Nope.
All right.
Thank you. Planning Commission report, Sarah?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. In your packet, page 15, you have a copy of our agenda from the March 12th meeting. There were no public hearings at that meeting, but it was continued discussion about a proposed amendment to our sign ordinance, whether to allow or to not allow off-premise advertising signs in our community and in certain areas of town. And on the back side of that page is just a brief, the February building permits. For the month of February, we had about 13 permits issued, a building value of $328,000, which is up a little bit from last year, which is good because it was a slow winter. So hopefully spring is here. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
We've got one permit that hadn't been paid for. Has that been squared away now?
It's still pending. They're changing their building project.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Nope. Public Works Department, Ben?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. As you know, we went right from snow to rain a few weeks ago. On the 11th and 12th of this month, our department worked along with personnel from the public utilities, and we cleaned snow and ice from all the storm sewer inlets in town in preparation for the rainfall that was predicted for that Wednesday night. We got everything completed in time, and we had very minor water issues just with a little bit of ice that was left on the road, so that went well. On the 15th of this month, we had to do quite a bit of snow removal out at the airport in a drainage ditch off of the parking pad to the north to get the water to flow. We had a pond out in front of that hangar there, and we were able to get it to drain and to work, but we had to move a lot of snow in order for that to happen. Some other things we've been doing, the ice has been removed up at the Civic Arena. The boards are now down, and we're doing the end of season cleanup throughout the building to get everything cleaned up. We're filling potholes throughout town on the residential streets that have some bad holes that need to get done, so you should see them out doing that. The street sweepers being prepped for initial spring cleanup as soon as it makes sense to start. We'll start cleaning up the streets. And we're beginning to clean and look over and perform any maintenance needed on our winter equipment to put it away for the summer season until we need it again. So that's everything moving up. Do you have any questions?
Questions?
I have one question. I know when I was up there for the Senior Center Board of Directors,
Yep.
their water had froze up. Has that been remedied? I mean, I know it's been remedied, but has the water have they gotten water back on there now or no?
They have water, but they're using it from the neighbor's house.
Okay, okay,
So that will be frozen until spring thaws the ground out.
okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. Library report, Marissa?
I don't know how much you want me to talk, and I gave handouts for everybody. Our borrowers are staying steady. We've issued 54 new cards in 2019 so far. Our circulation is down just a little bit compared to last year's numbers for this year so far, January and February, but I think that might have had something to do with the weather, just a little bit. We were closed a few extra days due to snowstorms, the cold, closing early due to snow. It's been fun. But luckily, people, when we've been open, they've come in to get books because they want to read. I don't know if you have any questions about the statistics on the front. I know it's a little small. We're trying to pay attention to how much our collection is to what our circulation is. We are trying to increase the juvenile print checkouts. We do have a lot of materials in juvenile collection that we're trying to increase through different types of programs we're offering, advertising in the schools, so hopefully we get more people with young families coming in. Types of programming and services, we're offering different types to promote arts, literacy, science, digital literacy in our community. We've added another story time, where we've added a morning story time for the school year. So we've had our first one, we only had 2 kids come, so we're a little disappointed in that, but the people who have come to our programs have really enjoyed them. We do a lot of local and regional authors. We host local and regional artists. We've been a sponsor for the summer concerts in the park through our Legacy program, our Legacy grants. We do artist-taught classes. We've had make and takes, and we've had an open mic this winter that's gone really, really well once a month. Our 1,000 Books Before Kindergarten program started in September. We have 47 kids signed up so far. 16 have been awarded, or we've awarded 16 prizes, excuse me. So that's over 1,600 books read for that program. Our summer reading program, we're gearing up for that, getting stuff ordered and prepping all the materials. It's a huge program. The Read to Me is for the younger kids. We had 27 sign up last year, 14 finished. There's different activities that the parents or caregivers do with the children as they can't read yet. So not just reading to them, but acting out things, playing games that relate to literacy. And then children ages 3 to grade 6, excuse me. We had 204 signed up for that last year, and 756 slips returned, which was almost double the amount of slips returned from the year before. So for 5 books read, or 5 hours read, excuse me, for each slip turned in, that would be 3,780 hours read. And our teens, we had 22 sign up and 216 slips returned. So the teens that we do have, that we are reaching, they are reading massively. And the prizes included a book and a small prize for each child that we're finishing. They were just low dollar value items supplied by the Friends of the Library and other donors. We just wrapped up our winter reading program, which was also sponsored by the Friends, and it was open to teens and adults and kids in 6th grade. We had 246 sign up, which was, I think, 58 more than last year. It's been an unusual winter. Everybody's wanting to read. And we had 341 slips returned, which were 1,705 books read. The adults, we do it a little differently. We track the books instead of the hours. So. We have a once monthly Lego hour. We did offer it twice monthly in the fall. We weren't getting a whole lot of kids, so we thought we'll just go once monthly, see if it was just the night we were offering or the time. And we've seen an increase, but I think there's a lot of competition for activities, and the weather has been a big factor in that as well. And we offer tech time regularly, and then we do walk-in basic technology assistant. I don't know how many know that you can get tech help at the library, but it's becoming more of a thing, so. Need help with your smartphone, your computer, tablet, not just learning how to borrow ebooks, but just basic things. We have about 9,500 information requests a year. That could be anything from looking up books for a particular author to how many, let's see, what would be a good one? State capitals, how do I find a certain thing in the library or anywhere in the world? So it can be the whole gamut. We have a book a librarian service that's offered regionally, but we also do it locally as well, whether it's tech time or just needing another service. And then a new program that's starting soon is conversation circles. Not sure if anybody knows what those are. It's for English language learners so that they can practice their English. There's a need, and bigger need probably in Melrose and in Long Prairie, but we're seeing a need in this community as well. And Great River Regional Library had gotten a grant, and we're able to add this service through that grant. And we're planning a community art show for the summer. Any questions on programming? Or?
Questions?
I was wondering if you have the book Dewey the Library Cat. Have you ever read that? It's a good book.
It is a very good book.
It's based on a true story out of Clear Lake, Iowa, I believe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yep. The poor kitty was dropped in the
Right.
drop, and
Yep.
yeah, rescued.
So if you don't have a library cat, I'd run one over tomorrow.
Well, I heard there was a library cat at one time.
Oh, they work better in twos. I'll bring you a pair of them tomorrow.
I don't think we have any trouble with mice, but if we did, that would definitely control them. And I do like cats.
Oh,
So any other questions?
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. And then just a couple of new things in the library. We
Okay.
did add a Android tablet in the last 2 weeks, so we can get away from the desk and help to answer some of those questions. Otherwise, staff have been using personal devices, but this gives us a little bit bigger screen. And then also, we added a self-checkout machine and a whole bunch of more stuff coming.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Community garden update. Whoever is in charge of that. Looks like Andrea.
Do you want us to read this, or were you just gonna talk about it? Or read what was in the back?
Come on up.
Summary.
It's a summary. Oh,
Oh, lots of questions.
then we did a good job
Yeah.
of bluffing.
Yeah.
There you go.
Okay. So myself, Andrea Kerfeld, and Sally Vogt are here on behalf of the community garden, just to give you an update as to how last year went and kind of where we're at. We're happy with the success of our pilot community garden project. We filled our children's gardening class in just a few days and had a great response to volunteering for planting, watering, and harvesting. We set up a community Facebook page, which has been our primary means of getting out the information about the community garden. One post in particular really summed up what we were hoping for, and did you guys get that post? Okay, so I won't read it, but she was just saying how pleased she was with it and kind of the response we were hoping for. We receive financial support from the Community Foundation, and Centricare is our acting fiscal agent. We receive funding from the local Rotary and the Lions Club, Treetop, and many just community members. We also received a $5,000 Spirit of Caring Award from Centricare. And because of all this support and interest, we would like to begin the second phase this year, which would be starting to rent out plots and raised beds. So you can either choose to have a raised bed or a plot that's in the ground. With the land that the city has given us, we'll be able to keep the children's garden, the community garden, and then add, right now, maybe up to 6 to 8 raised beds and rent out up to 24 plots. Plots are approximately 10 by 20, and will be rented for a nominal fee only to cover maintenance expenses. We do have, or are still looking for a small shed to put on the property to help store tools, wheelbarrows, hoses, things like that, and also to be able to put a board out for information or so that people can post things up there. We did become chamber members, and so we have enlisted the chamber's help in collecting rent for the plots and also fielding any phone calls that people have. We continue to write grants and raise money for things that we need. And last year, the city helped with preparing the area by digging and tilling and helping with the water supply. And we have discussed that with them, and they're willing to help us again this year. And then future plans may include a fence to deter animals. But other than that, another big thing is that we're trying to reach with this year is letting people know that this truly is a community garden, that it's for everybody. There's no income requirements, there's no, literally anybody can come use it. We just ask that it's, you take enough maybe for a meal at a time. You don't come down there to try to can all your tomatoes for the whole winter or whatever. But so just, and then while you're down there, maybe you weed something or you help water or help in the fall with cleanup or just something. So, but any questions?
Is the raised ones the ones you're gonna rent out?
Both the raised and the plots.
Okay, so that's free for the community, or the ones that you,
So the garden, so there's the children's part, and then there's the community part that's
Right.
in the ground, that's planted, that anybody can come up and pick what you want from. And then behind that, there'll be plots in the ground that people have paid for that are just theirs.
okay,
And then raised beds that people have paid for that are just theirs.
that's the question I was wondering.
Yeah,
So
so
people
if you
would-
want
there'd
your
be some
own garden
clarification,
that you don't
right.
want people digging in,
Right.
then you could get your own plot in the ground, plant it, do whatever you want, plant whatever you want. And then, but if you just want to be a part of the community garden, there's still a whole big section that, volunteers plant that you could just come down and take what you need from.
How will the rented plots be protected if somebody's really concerned about their own harvest being taken?
Sally? I mean, I don't know if there's a real, it's just going to have to be an honor system type thing.
So it's just whoever rents has to understand that's a risk that
We'll
comes
have,
with it.
it'll be marked, where as far as this part is the community garden, feel free to take. This part is personal plots, but I think we talked about putting string around them at least so that they're just marked and there'll be paths in between them and stuff, so they'll be clearly marked as to whose is whose.
Okay.
But, yeah, I guess there's really no way of preventing someone from going down there and taking from something else,
Just a question I just thought of tonight, so.
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
EDA report. That's the longest Vicky's got to sit for a long time.
What's that?
It's the longest you've had a chance to sit and watch for a long
Not
time.
used to sitting there for a half an hour before we get going. Okay, so I have the EDA report, and today the EDA met, and it was in a rescheduled meeting that normally would have been 2 weeks before. They did approve and recommend the updated numbers for the contract with Artistic Image, and that is on your agenda for later in this evening. They also received an update on the railroad property And the third item that they discussed was they received a proposal for a development of the city's Lot 1 of the Cates Estates, and that is the lot on the north end that we are actually currently staging the equipment or the supplies for the north project. So it would be between the Cates Estates cul-de-sac and Main Street itself. And so they gave me some direction to get back to that person about what that could potentially look like. So that would be something that would come to the council probably in 2 meetings from now, because we'll be meeting with that developer again before that. So a couple things going on, not a whole lot, not a lot for action tonight, but they're still working on it.
Questions? Okay. Airport Board?
The airport board met last Wednesday. That was in their regular session. And just a few things that they had on there, just to wrap up, and you're aware of this already, the airport entrance road paving, just have a small punch list of items, mostly to deal with shouldering, to be completed in the spring. The airport zoning ordinance, the county did appoint 2 members, and actually Jared from Bolton Mank will be here next Tuesday, and we're going to be setting up that first public hearing. So you'll all be welcome to attend that once we have that scheduled. And what happens there, then the zoning ordinance that we're developing for the airport then has to go to MnDOT, and then there'll be a time lag while they review it, and then it will come back. But you will all be invited to attend that public hearing. And then on the capital improvement program, we do have some items for 2020, which is State 2020, which actually starts July 1st of 19. And that project is when they get their funding out, they'll select projects off the capital improvement plans for a state-city grant. And so we have some things on there to do with hangar door replacement and cable straps and that type of thing. So we do have some smaller projects that we have the potential to be able to do in the later half of this year, but we won't know until probably July whether we've been picked. So that's what that capital improvement program number 3 is on there. And then we just had a summary of our federal entitlement fund summary, where we get $150,000 a year that we can spend on the airport, and then that kind of builds up, and then you spend it down, and then it builds up. And you just kind of see that over the next several years, we'll be building up to, because of a payback we have on some money we loaned out, we'll be up in the $700,000 to $800,000 again in 4 or 5 years. And so if we'll be choosing to do the crosswind runway, or if we need to build another teal hangar or something, those funds will be there. And the last thing that we have, and that is an item on your agenda tonight, that the city of Fairmont has requested a loan of our appropriation for this year's $150,000, which we won't be using, so we would let them use it, and then we'll use theirs at a later date. So that's the entitlement transfer that's requested later. So other than that, that's the action of the airport board.
Questions? Comments? Okay, then we move on to our action items. 7A, approve resolution 2019-17, accepting quote for equipment trailer.
So at the March 6th council meeting, you did pass a resolution which authorized us to seek quotes for the purchase of an equipment trailer for Public Works. We did have some specifications, and we had quotes from 2 vendors. One was from Winters Rec for a felling trailer, and the other was from Minnesota Manufacturing. The Minnesota Manufacturing trailer was actually about $775 less, or $7,626 versus $8,400 from the felling trailer at Winters. But staff is recommending that we purchase the felling trailer because there's 2 hydraulic arms to lift the trailer versus 1. So this is a lift trailer for our heavier equipment, our Toolcat, our Bobcat, that type of equipment. So they feel that it would be more stable to have 1 or 2 hydraulic arms, 1 on each side versus the 1 in the center. And then also just the type of construction being the I-beam construction versus the tube steel. So what we're asking tonight is to approve Resolution 2019-17, authorizing the purchase of the trailer. And I did leave the concur or does not concur open for you to circle on your recommendation of which trailer. Like I said, staff has recommended the felling trailer from Winters, although it is slightly more money, but for the reasons that I outlined.
Questions? Comments? What's the council's wishes?
Yeah, I'll make the motion, we go with felling trailers for those 2 reasons. That it has the 2 hydraulic arms and the I-beam construction for the paint protection on all exposed surfaces. I think it would last a lot longer. Plus, it's a local vendor. I would prefer to keep it local.
Okay, we have a motion to approve resolution 2019-17, authorizing the purchase of the trailer from Winters Rec which is a felling trailer.
I'll second the motion.
We have a second by Joe. Any other comments? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7B, approve extension of closing date for property sale.
This request was received on the closing date for the railroad property that we had. We had a closing date of March 31st, and the closing was contingent upon approval of all zoning requests. Well, as you know, we've done the plan unit development, conditional use permit, and the preliminary plat, and that's all been approved. And now the utility plan has been approved. They've been working with the city engineer on that. They're working on the final plat, and then their attorney is working on the bylaws and declarations and doesn't have them ready yet. And so that is why they're requesting to extend the closing date to on or before July 31st. And so we are requesting, or the EDA is recommending, to approve execution of the amendment to the purchase agreement to extend the closing date to on or before July 31st.
Questions? Comments? Do I have a motion to approve the execution of an amendment to a purchase agreement to extend closing date to on or before July 31st, 2019?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Dave. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Heidi. Any other comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7C, approve final SCDP deferred loan agreement and repayment agreement.
The EDA has recommended that the city approve the execution of the repayment loan agreement and the deferred loan agreement with Artistic Image. I do have all the vendors listed, the amount of, now these are the vendors that we were involved in. Of course, they had other vendors that they paid for. But these are the amounts of the total bill and how much of the bill was qualified. So the total qualified cost for the project was $44,835.17, of which 40% can be the deferred loan and 30% the zero interest loan. So that means a total amount of support of $31,384.62. So that's broke down into those two types of loans. And so we're requesting approval and execution of the loan documents for the total of $31,384.62.
Questions? Do I have a motion to approve execution of loan documents for a total of $31,384.62?
Motion to approve.
Motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
Second.
Dave.
Second by Dave. Comments, questions? Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7D, approve resolution 2019-18 supporting grant application.
This grant application is for the challenge park that is being proposed to be constructed near the splash pad. So we've been continuing to work with the Roundtable Committee on developing the grant application. This is a DNR outdoor recreation grant. We are applying for $165,000, and it would be applied toward the development of the challenge park, challenge park near the splash pad. A part of the application requires a resolution of support from the city, who we are the ultimate owner. That is the resolution right there that is in your packet that they are requesting that we adopt for that. The grant application final submittal is March 29th. We are well on our way to having that completed in time. Kind of solicited a committee, and we divide and conquer on the grant application, and they've been, we broke down the questions, and different people are working on different ones, and also getting multiple letters of support from all areas of the community. So I think we're well on our way to have that finished. We do need to get the resolution of support from the city council, and then that's really the last formal action at this point that the council would take until much later on, whether we get the grant agreement or if ultimately we do actually do the project. Of course, you will be involved in the competitive bidding process. So what I'm asking for tonight is to approve resolution 2019-18 supporting the grant application.
Questions, comments? Do I have a motion to approve resolution 2019-18 supporting the grant application?
So moved.
Motion by Heidi, second.
Second.
Second by Dave. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. 7E, approve transfer of airport entitlements agreement to the city of Fairmont.
I mentioned this in the airport report. The city of Fairmont has contacted me regarding, or inquiring if the city would be willing to transfer $150,000 of airport dollars from the city's balance to the city of Fairmont so they can complete the construction of a T-hangar. They have 3 cities lined up for $450,000 total that then they would get their project done this year. And then in exchange, they're going to transfer an equal amount of its airport entitlements back to us in 2021 or 2022. The reason that date's not final is the other cities are involved. I told them that I'm okay with either of those years, so if they need theirs back in 2021, I'll take ours back in 2022. So that number will be finalized before I send this in. We currently have 2 other transfers that we had loaned out to other people that'll be coming back to us in those years as well. They are to Holly and Hutchinson for $212,000. So what we're looking for tonight is simply to transfer $150,000 of our entitlements to the city of Fairmont so they may complete their T-hangar project with repayment to us in 2021 or 2.
Questions? As she pointed out, we've done this before, and it's always worked out well, so we can get the money back when
All right.
we have something, so. Do I have a motion to approve the transfer to airport entitlement dollars to the city of Fairmont with the return payback in 2021 or 2022?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. 7F, approve road closure for art crawl.
So this was continued from the March 6th City Council meeting. Pam Borgman, representing Visit Sauk Center, had requested the City Council approve the closure of Sinclair Lewis Avenue from Main to Elm on May 18th for an art event. That request was tabled at the last council meeting due to concerns over the potential closure from Oak to Elm, where there would be no detour for heavy traffic. The request has been amended to be from Sinclair Lewis for 1 block only from Main to Oak. So just the downtown part, and the date has also been changed to September 14th. So what we're requesting here is to approve the closure of Sinclair Lewis Avenue on September 14th from Main Street to Oak Street.
Questions?
Do you have anything additional, Pam? I think that sums it up.
Anybody up here have questions?
No.
Nope.
Okay. Do I have a motion to approve the closure of Sinclair Lewis Avenue on September 14th, 2019 from Main Street to Oak Street?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Diane, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Heidi. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, 5 in favor, none against. Unfinished business, rental ordinance.
I have just a little update, a couple of things that the policy committee will be working on, and that is the rental ordinance. And then also, if you recall, we talked about a downtown overnight parking permit policy. So those are 2 things that are still hanging out there that we need to get those done. The rental ordinance, we have quite a bit of that kind of pulled together so that we can go over that with the committee when we meet. And so those 2 things will be coming before you at a future date.
Any questions about either one of those 2?
No.
Okay. Then we will go on to new business, 2019 equipment purchases.
The department heads have compiled their proposed equipment purchases for 2019 with expected costs. And the operations committee, where I'm asking to review and recommend to the council, which should be considered so that we can begin that process of getting bids. I'm just asking to refer this to the operations committee to come back with a recommendation.
Is that okay with the
Yeah.
council, general consent?
Yeah.
That's fine.
Okay. 2019 road maintenance project.
And then also, for Operations Committee, that each year they review the capital improvement plan and they recommend whether, like, the street department project should be undertaken or if a different project would be a better option. On our capital improvement plan right now, for 2019, it's recommended a mill and overlay of 4th Street North from Trunk Highway 71, which is by J.C. Park, going easterly about 4 blocks. In 2018, the city projects, we did a lot of seal coating and we did the floor in the cold storage building. And in 2017, we did state road projects. So it's kind of like the scope of how much projects we can do. So what we're asking today is just to refer this to Operations Committee, and then they'll get into more details to come back with a recommendation.
Same thing, general
Yeah.
consent, everybody's okay with that? All right. updates to capital assets policy.
When I was working on the audit this year and doing the depreciation for all the city's capital assets, we do have what our capital asset policy says and what's generally being implemented on how long we're keeping some of our assets aren't lining up. So I would just like that to go back to the policy committee to review that and make sure that we're more in keeping with it. For instance, we're keeping an ambulance for a different number of years and our policy asks us to depreciate them. So we just want to make sure that they line up. That's all I'm asking, is to go back, to send that back to the policy committee.
Same.
Yeah,
Okay.
sounds good.
Sounds good. Then the foster grandparent program that I was requested to bring to the council just as a National Service Recognition Day is April 2nd, 2019. That program has been in place since 1965, and to recognize some of the foster grandparents that have been working over the years for the school system, and that we recognize them and thank them for their hours of service. Myrna Bowman at Holy Family School, Anna Mae Dieters, who served over 1,000 hours last year at Holy Family School, Jan Durbin, Sauk Center Elementary, Grace Edgar at Sauk Center Elementary, Pam McClellan, Holy Family School, Steve Mickelson for Osakis Elementary, Sue Nielsen, Early Childhood Family Education at the elementary, Judy Odegaard for the Sauk Center Elementary, Roberta Olson, Sauk Center Elementary, Judy Reller, Holy Family School, Delane Sawyer for Melrose Elementary, Marilyn Eulenkamp, Holy Family School, and Betty Van Haverman, Pumpkins and Monkeys Preschool. If there's anyone out there that was interested in being a part of that program, please contact Pat Sheriff at Catholic Charities, and we'll have her number. I will have it, or we'll have it at City Hall. So thank you to all those volunteers for what they do to help our school systems out. That now brings us to our consent agenda. We have schedule of claims, unpaid claims of $158,227.53. That's a different number than what's on your sheet because we found a duplication. For a same total of $158,227.53. February checks of $462,812.65. We have a gambling application for exempt permit request from the Knights of Columbus Council 4863 for bingo and a raffle for July 31st and August 1 through 4, 2019 at the Stearns County Fairgrounds. And Elmer Z's Bar and Event Center is requesting a temporary off-premise liquor permit to utilize their on-sale liquor license at Ladies Night Out at the Civic Arena on May 16th, 2019. Is there any questions about the consent calendar as presented? No. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar?
I'll make the I'll second.
Motion by Heidi, second by Diane. Call the question. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Informational items.
Just have a few informational items for you regarding our employees. Joe Jensen advances to step 8th on April 7th, 2019, and Andrew Wrestling advances to step 8 on March 21st, 2019. So these are automatic as part of the union agreement. A reminder, Local Board of Review and Equalization, April 15th at 1 p.m. here. I do have in your packet Big Sauk Lake Association. They're going to be applying to spray 15 acres on Big Sauk Lake. First, they'll apply through the Sauk River Watershed District. That needs to be approved by the DNR, and then payment from the weed harvester account. And I did include in your packet the map that you have, the colored map that says Sauk Lake North Basin. It's way up by Diamond Point. The red area are the GPS lines of where they sprayed last year, and the yellow area is what they're intending to anticipate spraying this year. And they have a little bit of an overlap of that, so they can see if treating 2 years in a row works better than the others. So That's their plan. Now, the DNR, of course, has to say whether or not they'll permit that, but that's where they're at for now. Spring Cleanup Day is May 4th at the Civic Arena parking lot, and that's where you bring your refrigerators and anything metal. I did include in your packet the 2018 Annual Bridge Report, and the report that we have that's subject to this, or the bridge that we have that's subject to this annual inspection is the one on Hoboken Creek over on Hickman Drive, so that you receive that every year. And then also I did include in your packet a requirement to notify you from Charter that the Spectrum Mid-America LLC will now be the holder of our franchise agreement that we have with Charter Communications. And that is what I have.
Questions on any of those items? Okay, that brings us to the end of our agenda. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Dave, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Call the question, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 5 in favor, none against. Meeting adjourned.